Hello friends, a big warm welcome to our very own channel, Ammu&You, where I, Ammu, loves narrating beautiful stories. Stories of all types. And today the story that I have selected for you is a story that speaks of love. Now love is a universal subject, but is perceived differently by different people. So how is love perceived by a young lover and the girl who he loves and the nightingale who is witness to the lover's pain and sorrow? So let us hear the story, The Nightingale and the Rose, written by Oscar Wilde. The story tells of a great sacrifice made by a small bird for the sake of love. The bird's sacrifice is contrasted sharply with the selfishness of we humans. The fact is that the human beings go their separate ways in life, quite unaware of the nightingale who pays the price of her life for obtaining the red rose for the lover that she sees is in pain, all for the sake of love. So, The Nightingale and the Rose by Oscar Wilde. She said she would dance with me if I brought her a red rose, cried the young student. But in all my garden there is no red rose. From her nest in the oak tree, the nightingale heard him, and she looked out through the leaves and felt sorry for the young student. Here is a true lover, said the nightingale. His hair is dark as the night. His lips are red as the rose of his desire. But passion has made his face pale, and sorrow is upon his brow. The prince gives a party tomorrow night, murmured the young student, and the beautiful girl I love will be there. If I bring her a red rose, she will dance with me till morning. But there is no red rose in my garden. I shall sit lonely and she will pass me by. She will dance only with others and my heart will break. Night after night have I sung of love, thought the nightingale. And what I sing of, he suffers. What is joy to me, to him is pain. Surely love is a wonderful thing. It cannot be purchased from the merchants, nor can it be weighed out in exchange for gold. The musicians will play upon their stringed instruments, said the young student, and my love will dance to the sound of the harp and the violin. She will dance so lightly that her feet will not touch the floor, but she will not dance with me, for I have no red rose to give her. He flung himself down on the grass and buried his face in his hands as he wept bitterly. Why is he weeping? Asked a little green lizard as he ran past him with his tail in the air. Why indeed? Said a butterfly who was fluttering about after a sunbeam. He is weeping for a red rose, said the nightingale. For a red rose? Both of them cried. How very ridiculous! But the nightingale understood the secret of the student's sorrow, and she sat silent in the oak tree and thought about the mystery of love. Suddenly, She spread her brown wings for flight and soared into the air. In the center of the garden was standing a beautiful rose tree. And when she saw it, she flew over to it. "Give me a red rose," she cried, "and I will sing you my sweetest song. Please give me a rose." But the tree shook his head. "I'm sorry, my roses are all white as the snow upon the mountain. But go to my brother who grows beneath the student's window, and perhaps he will give you what you want." So the nightingale hopefully flew over to the rose tree that was growing beneath the student's window. "Give me a red rose," she cried, "and I will sing you my sweetest song." But the tree shook its head. "But my roses are all yellow. Much as I would want to, I will not be able to fulfill your wish. Please go to my brother who is right behind that window," pointing out to the tree planted behind that room of the student. The nightingale flew to that window behind, and she saw a rose tree. "Give me a red rose, oh please, rose tree, and I will sing you my sweetest song. Please, I so desperately need one red rose." But the tree shook its head. "My roses are red," it answered, "as red as the feet of the Jove. But the winter has chilled my veins. The frost has destroyed my buds. The storm has broken my branches, and I shall have no roses at all this year," sobbed the rose tree. "One red rose is all I want," cried the nightingale. "Only one red rose, please. Is there no way by which I can get it?" "There is a way," answered the tree, "but it is so terrible that I dare not tell you." "Tell it to me, please," said the nightingale. "I am not afraid. I so want a red rose, so very badly." "Well, if you want a red rose," said the tree, "you must build it out of music by moonlight and color it with your own heart's blood. You must sing to me with your breast against a thorn. All night long you must sing to me, and the thorn must pierce your heart, and your blood must flow into my veins and become mine." "Death is a great price to pay for a red rose," cried the nightingale, "and life is very dear to all. It is so very dear to me. Yet love is better than life. And what is the heart of a bird compared to the heart of a man?" said the nightingale, ever so humbly. So she spread her brown wings for flight and soared into the air. She swept over the garden like a shadow, and like a shadow she sailed into her tree. The young student was still lying on the grass where she had left him, and the tears had not dried yet in his beautiful eyes. "Be happy," cried the nightingale. "Be happy, you shall have your red rose. I will build it out of the music by moonlight and color it with my own heart's blood. All that I ask of you in return is that you will be a true lover. The student looked up from the grass and listened, but he could not understand what the nightingale was saying to him, for he only knew the things that are written down in books. He did not understand the language spoke in love, the language that was being spoken by the nightingale. But the oak tree understood and felt sad, for he was very fond of the little nightingale who had built her nest in his branches. "Sing me one last song, please," he whispered. "I shall feel very lonely when you're gone." So the nightingale sang to the oak tree, and her voice was like water bubbling from a silver jar. And when the moon shone in the heavens, the nightingale flew to the rose tree and set her breast against a thorn. All night long she sang with her breast against the thorn. The moon leaned down and listened. All night long she sang. She sang and she sang, and the thorn went deeper into her breast, and her blood flowed out of her. She sang first of the birth of love in the heart of a boy and a girl. And on the topmost branch of the rose tree, there blossomed a marvelous rose. Petal followed petal, as song followed song. It was pale at first, but the tree cried to the nightingale to press closer against the thorn. "Press closer, little nightingale," cried the tree, "or the day will come before the rose is finished." So the nightingale pressed closer and closer against the thorn, and louder and louder grew her song, for she sang of the birth of passion in the soul of a man with a lovely maid. And a delicate color of pink came into the petals of the rose, but the thorn had not yet reached her heart. So the rose's heart remained white. And the tree cried to the nightingale to press closer against the thorn. The rose tree said, "Press closer, little nightingale," cried the rose tree, "or the day will come before the rose is finished. The thorn should pierce your heart." So the nightingale pressed closer against the thorn, and the thorn touched her heart, and a fierce pang of pain shot through her. Bitter, bitter was the pain, and wilder grew her song, for she sang of the love that lives even after death. The marvelous rose became crimson, but the nightingale's voice grew fainter, and her little wings began to beat, and her eyes became dim. Fainter and fainter grew her song. Then she gave one last burst of music. The red rose heard it, and it trembled over with ecstasy and opened its petal to the cold morning air. "Look, look," cried the rose tree. "The rose is finished now." But the nightingale made no answer. It just could not. It was dead. At noon, the student opened his window and looked out. "What a wonderful piece of luck!" he cried. "Here is a red rose. I have never ever seen any rose so beautiful in all my life." He leaned down and plucked it. Then he put on his hat and ran to the beautiful girl's house with the rose in his hand. You said that you would dance with me if I brought you a red rose. The student cried to the girl, here is the reddest rose in the world. You may wear it tonight next to your heart. And as we dance together, I will tell you how much I really love you. But the girl frowned. I'm afraid it will not go with my dress, she answered. And besides, a rich man has brought me some jewels. Can you look at this wonderful necklace? Everybody knows that jewels cost far more than flowers. Well, you are really very ungrateful, said the student angrily, and he threw the rose into the street where it fell down, shriveled, the petals all falling apart. The oak tree saw all this. Tears rolled down his eyes. What a silly thing love is, said the student as he walked away back to his house. He returned to his room and pulled out a dusty book and began to read. This was all about true love and being a true lover. And the nightingale gave up her life for these two. In fact, what she thought was true love that the boy felt for the girl. I'm sure you like the story. Different perceptions of love felt by different people in different stages of life. If you've liked the story, I would request you to please like, share, subscribe, press the bell icon. And thank you for all your love and support so far. Your comments make me so happy. Let them keep coming. And thank you so much for listening to this story. I will come back soon again with yet another one to narrate to you. Stay happy, stay blessed, and be drowned in true love.